What is up, YouTube? I'm Gallight74 here, bringing you our Week 11 battle of the PEBA. This week, we take on Eevee, coach of the Evergrande Eevees, and that awesome logo in the thumbnail. So yes, that is pretty interesting to say the least. This is the last week of the PEBA, as next week is the playoffs. We have clinched playoffs, and we do know who we are facing. We are facing off against the Lumiose Luxrays, coached by Young Bisharp. We did face him on earlier in the season, and we did beat him, so hopefully we'll be able to do that again in the playoffs. But that is for next week. This week we are taking on Eevee. We are 1-1 against Eevee overall, as we did beat him in the CKBL, but we did lose to him in the PEBA. That was in reverse order. But hopefully we can take the overall advantage and beat him in this game. And despite the fact that he is 1-9, I know Eevee is a really good battler, and he's a pretty good prepper as well. He just has probably been getting unlucky this season. He's got a pretty good team too. He does have the one unlucky Mon, as I will get to in a few seconds. But that's just a note for the battle. And before we get into the team builder, one more thing is that I am going to be trying a little bit harder in this game. I want to get a little bit hot for the playoffs instead of just memeing around. So that is why I'm going to be trying a little bit. And of course, because Eevee's a good battler. So there's that. I'm going to get into his team now. His team is consisting of Tornadus Therian Zemoos, Zeraora Zemoos, Conkeldurr, Mega Beedrill, Nidoqueen, Ferrothorn, Alolan Ninetales, Jellicent, Tyrantrum, Magmortar, and Chimecho. Now, to reiterate, as I said, he has an unlucky squad, meaning just Tornadus Therian, because a lot of Tornadus Therian's hard-hitting moves are very inaccurate, and if it's going to play a supportive role, it's not really offensively a problem. So that's why I say that. And the rest of his squad is pretty offensive. He's got Alolan Ninetales for Roarveil, so Veil support with an offensive setup mons are really scary to say the least. One thing that's really scary is Zeraora, because I don't know what type of Zeraora set he's going to bring, and if I handle it wrong, it could really cost me, because my main switch in this week is Hippowdon, and if he runs like a full special set with Grass Knot, that's going to be a big problem. But again, Zeraora can do many different things. I just have to find out what it does during the battle. And surprisingly, on the defensive end, Jellicent was actually really annoying for my team, because it does have reliable recovery. Ferrothorn and Alolan Ninetales are pretty annoying too, but the thing about them is that they don't get reliable recovery, so they're a little bit easier to deal with, while Jellicent is a little bit harder to deal with. But everything else was relatively easier to deal with. I'm not going to say easy, but easier. So that is his squad. My squad this week consists of Mega Diancie, Volcarona, Hippowdon, Ash Greninja, Reuniclus, and Oricorio. So as I just mentioned, the first mon on the team is Mega Diancie. Mega Diancie is running max special attack, 248 speed with timid nature, and 8 in HP. Moves being Rock Polish, Diamond Storm, Moonblast, and Earth Power. Originally, I had a little bit of a slower Diancie and a harder hitting one, but I felt like outspeeding Alolan Ninetales was a little bit more important, so I could prevent Veil from going up. This Mega Diancie runs house on his team. This beats so many of his team. My team overall is kind of a below average matchup against him, except for Mega Diancie. Mega Diancie is looking phenomenal in this matchup. It beats the likes of Conkeldurr, it beats Tyrantrum, because I know he likes to bring that thing a lot. Tornadus if he's not running Steel Wing, Zeraora if I have a Rock Polish up, as well as Mega Beedrill, Magmortar, all those stuff. Even Chimecho, even though that won't come. But there's that. It only gets walled really by Ferrothorn, and barely even Nidoqueen, because Earth Power is going to do so much to it. I just have to make sure to chip down a bit, because I know Earth Power doesn't one-shot that thing. But Mega Diancie is looking absolutely phenomenal in this matchup. I could set up a Rock Polish on probably like Ninetales or something like that, or maybe on a Force Twitch from Conk or something. But if I can get that up, then it's really looking scary for his team. The only thing I'm a little worried about is Jellicent, particularly, especially the defensive one, if he does end up deciding to go that route, because then it can tank the hits and recover up. But outside of Jellicent, nothing really wants to take multiple hits from this thing. And Ferrothorn, but Ferrothorn is easily exploitable with my squad. That's Mega Diancie. Next up, we have Volcarona. Volcarona is running the leftovers with Quiver Dance, Substitute, Fiery Dance, and Psychic, max special attack, modest nature, 224 speed, and the 32 HP. His speed tiers go from Alolan Ninetales to Magmortar, so that allowed me to run modest this week. Fire Dance is to boost even further outside of Quiver Dance, and if I can get a few up, I can kind of just wreck his team. This goes through so many of his mons, except for, again, Jellicent and Tyrantrum to an extent, but if I'm able to get up to +1 and I'm behind a sub, I can beat it, so that's something to keep in note. And even if the only thing Jellicent could really do if I'm keep boosting up is get a Toxic off somehow, and if I'm at like +2 Quiver Dance and he's got no investment, I think I don't get my sub broken. I think I could be wrong, but that is the goal. I can set up on Ferrothorn because Ferrothorn doesn't want to stay in on a Volcarona ever. or Ninetales as well. Though I do have to be careful with Encore about Ninetales, but if he doesn't have that, then it'll be a lot easier to exploit. And again, once I'm up to like +1, +2, then his team just has no good switch-ins to this thing. So that is the goal for Volcarona. Next up, we have Hippowdon. Hippowdon is back again for another week. Hippowdon is running Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Sock-Off, and Toxic with the Rindo Berry and max HP and mixed defenses. This is here. The Rindo Berry is there for that Grass Knot Zeraora I was talking about because that looks pretty scary. This is only for a physically offensive Zeraora though, because I cannot live a fully specially offensive Zeraora Grass Knot into another Grass Knot. I can't live it. So I'd be really, really careful about that. It's kind of an unset, but it's something I could definitely see him bringing. So that is the goal there. It also stops the Tyrantrum from going insane because, again, I know he likes to use Tyrantrum. And I wouldn't be shocked if it came, despite the fact that it has an average matchup at best. It stops Nidoqueen unless it's like fully offensive Nidoqueen, more of a defensive Nidoqueen. And it stops the Conkeldurr to an extent as well. Everything's to an extent. It's mainly here for Zeraora and Tyrantrum, but it also can do a few other things. Excuse me. One really important note is that Stealth Rocks are really important this week. His removal is pretty bad. So if I can get rocks up early, then I could whittle his team down to the point where Deontay or Volcarona can come in and clean up. So that is what Hippowdon's job is for this week. And Sandstream for, just maybe stop Veil if I feel ballsy. Next up, we have Ash Greninja. Ash Greninja is running the Expert Belt, max special attack, 248 speed with Timid Nature to outspeed Tornadus with Scald, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, and Low Kick. I had HP Fire, but for some reason, you can't run Hidden Power on Ash Greninja except for like Hidden Power Ghost. I didn't know that until like going into this battle. I thought it was HP Fighting last time because the IVs are weird, but apparently it's like all Hidden Powers. It really pissed me off because I had HP Fire for the Ferrothorn switch in and the Ninetales switch in, which I was fully expecting one of those two to switch in. So I put Low Kick on there just as, whatever. It at least can touch the Ferrothorn still. But this thing is pretty good for cleaning up his team if Volcarona already doesn't do it enough. It stops a lot of his lower tiers, if not all of his lower tiers. It gives me a good offensive answer to Nidoqueen and Tornadus, because if he does run Steel Wing on Tornadus, then it could be a little bit of a problem. So I have Greninja to offensively check that. And like Zeraora doesn't want to switch in. Again, Ferrothorn can now because it doesn't have HP Fire, but I have Volcarona to use that as setup bait. And the same with Ninetales, I could just send in Volcarona. So that's kind of the main thing for Greninja. And for Jellicent, because again, Jellicent was kind of a problem, and I needed a good switch in. And since, thank God, Jellicent doesn't get Thunder Wave, so now I can easily just switch in every time on Jellicent with Greninja, basically, and it will do minimal damage. Unless he runs, like, Energy Ball or Giga Drain, which, he could do, but I don't really see it happening. But that is the Greninja set. Next up, we have Reuniclus. Reuniclus is running the Cobra Berry with Magic card, with the moves Calm Mind, Psychic, HP Fire, and Recover, Max HP, and Split Defenses, a little more into the special defense. Psychic and Fire coverage is really good against his team. I already have it on my Volcarona, now I have it on Reuniclus. I didn't have Calm Mind originally because of Conkeldurr can come in and like click Facade and just knock me out if it's Flame Orb. It's a standard set on there. But I felt like I could at least Calm Mind up. He won't bring in Beedrill because that's just ballsy as hell. And I at least can break through something. And if I don't need to break through something, I can just come in on Ferrothorn and wall that thing. Because Ferrothorn can't do much to me. It can't set up Leech Seed because of Magic Guard. I won't take any Stealth Rock or Spikes damage or whatever. And I can also come in on Ninetales as well because I'm pretty specially bulky. And my Ninetales isn't really that strong, so I could just kind of outstall it there that way. So that's what it's mainly here for. And Nidoqueen. I can stall at Nidoqueen as well and beat it with Psychic. And just in general, his Psychic switching just doesn't really exist outside of Ferrothorn. And again, Hidden Power Fire. So I felt like Reuniclus would have a really good matchup. I had Magic Guard, so Ferrothorn wouldn't get Leech Seed recovery mainly, and I didn't really need the Regenerator this week. So that's why I decided to go that route. And I had the Cobra Berry, again, for the Conkeldurr switch-in, and as well as like Zeraora, because I can take any hit from Zeraora, except for I think like a really, really, like a Banded knockoff would have knocked me out, except for Cobra Berry. So if I didn't have it, that would be a case. So that is Reuniclus. And lastly, we have Oricorio. Oricorio, Pom-Pom. I had the Ghost form for Beedrill, but I felt like Tornadus was looking like a little bit of a problem, so I decided to throw on especially defensive Oricorio with U-Turn, Air Slash, Defog, and Roost. This is mainly here to pivot rather than hit back. It just pivots with U-Turn because it's slower than Tornadus. I can pivot into Greninja, and his switch-in, again, Ferrothorn and Ninetales, but repeat, go back to Volcarona. So that is the goal. Volcarona is a really, really, really good win con this week because his rockers are like Tyrantrum and Nidoqueen and Ferrothorn too, but it's not really a big deal because it's not really a big deal. So that is Oricorio, and it also stops the Conkeldurr unless it clicks Facade, I think it was. Oh, and the Oracle. It gave me a good switch into Jellicent as well, even though it can't really touch it back. So that is the team we are rocking with this week. It mainly just get Volcarona in to set up or Diancie in to break. That is mainly the squad I am bringing. That is all for the team builder, and we're going to head over to the Pokemon Showdown and watch the battle. Alright, we have arrived at Pokemon Showdown, and he did not bring the Conkeldurr, which is great to see, but he did bring Auroraville and Jellicent and Zeraora, so I definitely have to be careful of those threats, especially Auroraville. So that's that. I'm going to lead off with Oricorio because I thought Tornadus would be a pretty good lead matchup for him. But he does lead off with Jellicent, this is just fine because I can just simply U-turn out on it. And I mentioned in the team builder that Greninja is a good switch into Jellicent offensively, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. He does go for the Scald, and it does basically no damage, and I do not get burned, which is pretty awesome. Now here I do get a free Dark Pulse, and this was like right after I learned that I couldn't run Hidden Power Fire, so this is really annoying because I hit the Dark Pulse, and knowing this is actually a defensive Ferrothorn rather than specially defensive, I would have loved to click HP Fire there, but, you know, can't have it. But we're going to Reuniclus. Reuniclus is Magic Guard, so he will not get recovery back, and the next turn I'm just going to fire off a Hidden Power Fire as he didn't catch that at all. And now luckily this Ferrothorn is really low in health, and it makes it a lot less of a threat. I went for Psychic here because I was pretty sure it knocked out Ferrothorn, so it was a no drawback play, as Jellicent does come in to switch in. Now, unless the Jellicent does Shadow Ball, it can't really touch me, but I don't want to risk that quite yet, so I'm going to go to Greninja and Scout as he just clicks Recover. And I'm just going to go for Dark Pulse this turn as he does go into Ninetales, and this kind of sucks because it's not going to do much. HP Fire wouldn't have killed it anyway, but I can't really touch it. So now I'm going to go back into Reuniclus, and since I am a little bit lower health, I'm going to have to recover up at some point. I am at 67%, as he does set up the Auroraville here. So now I'm just going to click Recover to stall this out a bit. As he does go for the Blizzard, it's doing a lot of damage, so this is a very offensive Ninetales, despite the fact that it has Veil. I think it's max special attack, no boosting item. But I'm going to click Recover one more time, I think. No, I click Calm Mind this turn because I wanted to boost up a bit and then recover back up. But here you'll see, as I'm going to click Recover again here, he goes for the Blizzard, and it does like 20%, and this Reuniclus gets frozen. And during the battle, this really pissed me off. Like, I was really like raging in my house. But it turns out, since Ferrothorn is really low, it doesn't really matter too much. The only thing I was really scared of is what is exactly happening right now, as he is like Clay Ninetales, so he does get the 7 to 8 turns of Veil, and this Tyrantrum is in behind a Veil. So I had to go into Hippowdon, which is unfortunate, because I need Hippowdon for Zeraora. I'm going to fire off a Toxic because it is the best way to deal with this Tyrantrum, but he does switch into Tornadus, so that really is good for me as it kills another Veil turn and this Tornadus is put on the timer. I am going to switch out because I need Hippowdon healthy for the Zeraora, and luckily he just goes for the Grass Knot. It does absolutely nothing to this Oricorio as it weighs nothing. So that's good. Oricorio is always a good switch into this Tornadus. And luckily it is a leftovers Tornadus, so it's not the most offensive. I think it's offensive, but there's no boosting item, so that's pretty nice. He goes for Hurricane, and I go for U-turn, and that's great because it gives me a free offensive switch in. I wanted to go Diancie, but I couldn't do that, risking the Steel Wing still, as he hasn't revealed all 4 moves, and it's faster than me. So Greninja's faster. It gives me a free Ice Beam. Unfortunately, he can go into Ninetales, which is exactly what he does. And I'm going to Ice Beam it here. And now I have a hard decision to make because Reuniclus is actually frozen. Luckily, Volcarona is still a good switch into Ninetales. I can't stop the Veil, but I can stop it from doing so much damage, as he is going to get up Veil again. And now he's got 8 turns of Veil. So that's pretty not cool. Luckily, I can set up a substitute on this thing and stall turns a bit, as he actually goes into Tornadus here, and that's actually really good for me. I was really thinking he was going to go into Tyrantrum and start setting up behind Veil, so that would be really scary, but he actually doesn't know all 4 of my moves, obviously. And I do not have Giga Drain or anything to really hit Tyrantrum. He goes for Hurricane and he misses, which is a little bit of justice for the freeze, and I go for the Fiery Dance. It does a little bit, and I do get this Attack Raise, which is really nice. And now, he's got a choice here, because this Tornadus is going to be in range of Hail, Toxic, and another Fiery Dance. As he chooses to stay in and click Hurricane, he does land it to the substitute is gone. And I am going to hit my Fiery Dance, and he's going to put it in range to the point where Hail and Toxic take it out. I do get another boost, so now I'm back to neutral with the Veil up. So that's pretty cool, as Tornadus is going to go down, and that's really good for me, and he's going to go into Tyrantrum. Now here, I know he's going to step a Dragon Dance, so I'm going to just fire off a Psychic, and it does over half, as he does set up a Dragon Dance. Now, I had a thought in mind. I could have went to a Hippowdon expecting the Rock move, but I decide here to actually sack the Volcarona. Volcarona actually doesn't get a kill this game, which is very unfortunate. I do get the Flame Body, so it pays off in the end. The reason I did that was because I didn't want Let's go. I didn't want Hippo taking the damage because, again, I need it for the Zero Aura. I need it to be healthy, as he does have the Ice Fang, but luckily because of the burn, it's not going to be doing nearly as much, and I am going to be able to get my rocks up because of that burn. So that is actually a really, really big burn for me. Very unfortunate for Eevee here, as Ice Fang's not really doing much. He could freeze me again, which would be really, really annoying, as I am playing games with it a bit, as I am not attacking Tyrantrum right away. But this turn, I decide just to click Earthquake, because he's probably just going to keep spamming Ice Fang until he either gets a freeze or whatever. As I'm going to fire Thunderquake and Tyrantrum goes down, so probably his biggest setup threat is gone, because at this point, if Tyrantrum's setting up, I don't think Zero Aura is going to be a setup mon. As Ninetales comes in, we're straight up on rocks, and he's probably going to get up another 8 turns of Veil, so I have to go into Diancie, but luckily Ninetales just clicks Freeze Rise this time, and like that's good. I don't get frozen. He's really playing for the freeze game here. As I am going to Mega Evolve, hoping Jellicent doesn't come in, and luckily he stays in, and I am faster. Ninetales goes down, and Veil is no longer a problem, as Veil was a really big problem in this game. We're up 5-3, but Zero Aura is looking very threatening against my squad, as here it comes here. This turn, I do make a really big misplay. I expected him to set up if he was set up, and I went for Rock Polish, so I would be faster. And I do live the hit. I was expecting to die, but I lived the hit. But Hail's still up, and that is going to knock me out. So if I would have just attacked this thing with Earth Power, it probably would have been knocked out from Hail. So that's really unfortunate. I can go into Hippo now. Because I kept it healthy, I can live a Grass Knot even if it's fully specially offensive. He still hasn't gone down to the Jellicent, which is really shocking. He just sacks off the Ferrothorn, which is really nice. So at this point, I have to switch out Hippo, knowing Jellicent's going to come back in, which it does. And expecting this thing to actually Scald. Scald burns Freeze, so I'm hoping I can go to Reuniclus. I originally had it as a sack, but if he Scalds, I can unthaw and recover, because I'll live the hit because I'm really specially offensive, and knowing this Jellicent's really bulky, it won't knock me out, as he does fire out the Scald. At this point, he commented, he told me that he was helping me out at this point, which, thanks Eevee, because that actually is really helpful a lot. I can set up on this thing knowing it doesn't have Shadow Ball, and since I have Magic Guard, it can't stall me out with Toxic, even though he burned me at this point. So here, I'm going to click Recover once so I can live a hit from Zero Aura, because that thing is still really threatening in the back. I actually clicked Psychic, my bad. I want to chip this Jellicent down a bit. So, these next few turns, since I do still have the Colbur Berry, I can live a hit from Zero Aura if I'm above, like, half. I think it's a little bit above half I need to be at, unless he's, like, mixed offensive. It depends what his set is. But Jellicent is not really a threat here, as Reuniclus can actually start to set up Calm Minds on this thing. As you see, I do this turn. Look, so I'm going to get to a point. I'm going to go up to +2 because I want to knock out that Zero Aura in one hit. And Scald's not doing anything. I'm just going to recover up on this to get as much health as I possibly can. And this is basically going to be the game unless Plasma Fist crit me. Not knockoff, but Plasma Fist, because the Colbur Berry just stops knockoff in general. But Plasma Fist with the crit would probably knock me out since I am more specially defensive. This turn I go for Psychic, as he does fire off another Scald. It's doing nothing, and this Jellicent is going to take a lot of damage from that. 60%. He's not going to be able to outstall that forever. So Jellicent plays Scald one more time, gets a crit, which is kind of unfortunate because if he is a very offensive Zero Aura, like an Adamant one, and he gets a really, really high roll, I think there's a chance he could actually still knock me out through the Colbur. As he is going to come in, and Zero Aura is going to click the knockoff, and since because I have it, I do live the hit, and Psychic is going to absolutely obliterate the Zero Aura, and that is going to be the game. So GG to Eevee. We're going to bump up and finish off the PEBA with a 7-4 record, better than our 6-6 record last season, so I'm pretty happy about that. This battle was pretty haxy on both sides, I ain't gonna lie about it, so that really sucks, but maybe next time me and Eevee faced off, we'll have a little more of an even battle. Next week we have playoffs, unless we take a break, which I'm not sure yet. We take on Young Bisharp, coach of the Lumiose Luxrays, as I said earlier on in the video. That's going to be a really, really good battle, guys, so make sure you go check that out next week. And lastly, I am going to go over the stats and all that after the last playoff game, whenever I get eliminated or win, hopefully. So whenever that happens, I'll go over the end of the season stats from all the Pokemon. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. That's all I got for you guys. I'm head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.